"I heard you want a wife. My daughter is perfect for you," said the Apache woman. The sun was rising slowly over the dusty hills of Arizona, casting golden light over the small town where the rancher lived and worked. Psst. He was a man used to hard work, with hands worn from years of tending animals and working the land. His life was simple but steady, filled with the rhythm of chores, caring for his horses and looking after the small ranch that had been in his family for generations. People in town knew him as honest and reliable, a man who could always be trusted. Yet, despite his strong reputation and steady life, there was something missing, a quiet longing in his heart that he could not quite name. He had always thought of himself as someone who would find love naturally, someone who would meet the right person when the time was right. But time seemed to pass quickly, and though he met people from time to time, none of them had stirred his heart in the way he hoped. Bear. Friends teased him lightly, saying he must be too focused on work or too set in his ways.
Yet he never felt the need to rush.
He believed that true connections could not be forced. They had to grow naturally, like the crops he carefully tended each season. One day, as he was walking into the small grocery store in town, he noticed a woman who had caught his attention before. She was not young, but there was a quiet strength about her, a calm presence that seemed to command respect without asking for it. She was an Apache woman, well known in the community for her wisdom and kindness. But many people sought her advice for problems both small and large. She had a sharp mind and a heart that seemed to understand the needs of everyone around her. As he entered the store, she smiled warmly at him, and he returned the gesture politely. He had seen her before at community gatherings and town events, but they had never spoken much beyond polite greetings. This time, however, she spoke first.
"I heard you want a wife," she said, her voice steady and calm, almost as if she were stating a simple fact.
The rancher blinked in surprise. He was not expecting such directness, and for a moment he could not find the right words. I suppose I do," he said carefully, unsure where this conversation might lead. The woman's eyes sparkled with a mix of humor and seriousness. "Then you should meet my daughter," she said. "She is perfect for you." The words hung in the air like a sudden gust of wind. The rancher's mind raced. He had never imagined that the conversation like this would happen in such a simple place, and yet here it was. He was unsure how to respond. He had always respected the Apache woman for her wisdom, and he knew that she would not suggest something lightly. At the same time, he felt a mix of curiosity and caution.
"Your daughter?" he repeated slowly, trying to understand.
Bam. "Do you mean you want me to marry her? I have watched you for some time. You are a good man. You work hard, you are honest, and you treat people with respect. My daughter has many qualities that would complement yours. She is strong, intelligent, and she knows how to care for a family and a home. She would be a partner in every sense." The rancher felt a strange mixture of flattery and hesitation. He had always admired her daughter from afar, noticing her poise and quiet confidence during community events, but he had never imagined that someone would suggest they could be married. There was so much to consider: the differences in their backgrounds, the expectations of the family, and the feelings of the daughter herself.
"Why me?" he asked finally, trying to keep his voice calm.
"Why do you think I am the right one?" The woman's expression softened. "Because I can see the goodness in you," she said. "I can see a man who values honesty and kindness, who will not only love but also respect her. These qualities are rare, and they are what matter most." The rancher nodded slowly, still unsure. He wanted to be respectful of her suggestion, but he also wanted to be honest about his own feelings. He could not promise love that had not yet grown, yet he did not want to dismiss her words lightly. He knew that any relationship, especially one suggested in this way, required thought, care, and mutual respect.
I will think about it.
He said carefully. And of course, I would need to meet her first. I cannot make any promises without knowing her, understanding her hopes and dreams.
The woman smiled again, a smile full of quiet confidence. Of course, she said. That is the way it should be. I only ask that you give it a chance, that you meet her with an open heart and mind. You will see what I mean. With that, she left the store, leaving the rancher with a mind full of questions and thoughts he could not easily settle. He walked home slowly, feeling the weight of the moment. The sun was higher in the sky now, casting long shadows over the town. He thought about the life he had built, the quiet routines, and the people he cared for. And he wondered what it would mean to invite someone new into that life. Not just anyone, but a woman who might change everything. Over the next few days, he could not shake the conversation from his mind. He thought about the Apache woman and her words, about the quality she had described in her daughter. He tried to imagine what it would be like to spend time with her, to get to know her, and to see if a true connection could grow between them. Finally, he decided to visit her home, to meet the daughter in a respectful and thoughtful way. When he arrived, he was greeted warmly by the mother, who seemed pleased by his visit. The daughter was there, standing quietly, observing the newcomer with curiosity and poise. She did not speak immediately, but her eyes held a mixture of caution and intrigue. The rancher introduced himself politely, and she nodded in response. At first, their conversation was cautious, careful, filled with questions about daily life, work, and responsibilities. They were both careful to speak respectfully, understanding the importance of this first meeting. As the hours passed, they began to find common ground. The rancher spoke about his love for the land, his work with animals, and the importance of honesty and hard work. The daughter shared stories about her life, her family, and the skills she had learned growing up in the Apache community. He was impressed by her strength, intelligence, and the way she carried herself with quiet confidence. She, in turn, noticed his integrity, his thoughtfulness, and the way he listened carefully to her words. The mother watched quietly from a distance, her eyes soft with approval. She could see the beginnings of a connection forming, a spark of mutual respect and understanding. In fact, she had known from the start that her daughter and the rancher had the qualities that could create a strong partnership. But she also knew that trust and choice were essential. She would not force anything, only guide them gently toward the possibility. By the time the rancher left that evening, he felt a mixture of hope and uncertainty. He was drawn to her intelligence, her strength, and her quiet presence, yet he knew that true feelings could not be rushed. The daughter, too, was thoughtful, reflecting on the man who had come into her life with sincerity and respect. She appreciated his honesty and the care with which he treated her, and she wondered if this chance encounter could grow into something more. As he walked back to his ranch under the warm glow of the setting sun, he realized that life sometimes presented opportunities in unexpected ways. A simple conversation in a small store had led to a meeting that might change everything. But he did not know what the future held, but for the first time in a long while he felt a spark of possibility, a quiet hope that something meaningful could grow between them, built on respect, understanding, and shared values. The days that followed were filled with reflection. He continued his daily work, tending to his ranch and animals, but his thoughts often returned to that first meeting. He considered the mother's words, the daughter's presence, and the possibility that life might offer love in unexpected forms. He knew that trust, patience, and mutual respect would be the foundation of any future connection. And so, the story began, not with grand gestures or dramatic declarations, but with a simple conversation, a meeting of minds and hearts, and the quiet hope that two people, guided by respect and understanding, might discover a bond that could change their lives forever. The first chapter of their journey had begun, a journey filled with curiosity, thoughtfulness, and the possibility of love. And though neither of them could see the full path ahead, they both felt that this encounter was the start of something meaningful, something that required time, care, and the courage to open their hearts to one another. After their first meeting, the rancher could not stop thinking about the daughter. Her calm strength, intelligence, and quiet confidence had left a lasting impression on him. Every time he completed a chore on the ranch, his mind drifted to the moments he had shared with her. The way she had listened carefully, the gentle but firm way she spoke, and the spark of curiosity in her eyes. He realized that this was not just a passing thought. There was something about her that drew him in, something he could not ignore. He decided that he needed to get to know her better, to see if a true connection could grow between them. With that in mind, he accepted the mother's invitation to visit the family's home again. This time, he approached with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He knew that first impressions were important, and he wanted to show respect while also revealing his sincere interest in knowing her. When he arrived, he was greeted warmly by both the mother and the daughter. The daughter's eyes, which had been curious and cautious during their first meeting, now held a hint of recognition and quiet welcome. She nodded politely, and he returned the gesture, feeling a sense of shared understanding. Their first conversation that day was gentle, almost like a slow dance of words. They spoke about everyday life, ranch chores, family routines, and the simple joys of living close to nature. The rancher shared stories of his own childhood, his experiences working on the ranch, and the lessons he had learned about patience, responsibility, and respect. The daughter listened intently, asking thoughtful questions that showed she cared about understanding him beyond surface details. In turn, she shared stories about her own life, growing up in the Apache community, learning traditions from her family, and the challenges she had faced while balancing independence with family expectations. The rancher admired her honesty and the way she spoke openly yet thoughtfully. He could see that she had grown up strong and capable, and he felt a growing respect for her resilience and character. As the day went on, they began to explore common interests. Both shared a love for animals, especially horses, and they spent time together in the stables. The rancher demonstrated his skills with the horses, showing patience and care, while she impressed him with her knowledge and natural ability to handle them with confidence. They laughed together when a playful horse refused to follow instructions, and for a moment, the air was light and easy. These small, shared experiences created a bond, slowly breaking down the walls of caution and formality that had existed at their first meeting. Over the next several visits, their connection deepened. They worked together on simple tasks around the ranch and the family home, learning to communicate and cooperate in ways that were natural and unforced. The rancher noticed her intelligence in solving problems and her ability to remain calm under pressure. She in turn saw his patience, kindness, and dedication, qualities that were rare in someone she could trust. Despite their growing familiarity, both remained careful. Neither wanted to rush into feelings too quickly. They respected each other's independence and space, understanding that true trust and connection could not be forced. There were moments of awkwardness, of shy glances and hesitant smiles, but these only made their growing bond more genuine. They were learning to appreciate not only each other's strengths but also their humanity, the small imperfections that made them real. One afternoon, while they were repairing a fence on the ranch, a sudden rainstorm began. They hurried to gather the tools and cover the animals, laughing as they ran through the muddy fields. The rain, which at first seemed like an inconvenience, became a moment of shared joy. They worked together seamlessly, helping each other through the slippery terrain, and by the time the storm passed, they were soaked but smiling. It was a small adventure, but it revealed something important: their ability to cooperate, support, and enjoy each other's company, even in unexpected circumstances. After that day, their conversations grew more personal. They spoke of hopes and dreams, of fears and uncertainties. Pick. The rancher admitted that he had always wanted a partner who could be not just a spouse but a true companion, someone who would stand beside him through life's challenges. The daughter shared her own desire for a relationship based on respect, understanding, and mutual support, rather than pressure or expectation. These conversations, though careful, began to reveal their values and aspirations, showing that they had more in common than they initially realized. The mother watched quietly, giving them space to grow, knowing that their bond needed to form naturally. She was proud of her daughter's courage and thoughtfulness, and she could see that the rancher was sincere in his intentions. Yet she also knew that life could be unpredictable, and that their journey would require patience and understanding from both sides. Community events also played a role in bringing them closer. At town gatherings, they walked together, talked, and observed each other's interactions with others. The rancher noticed the way she treated people with kindness and fairness, never seeking attention but commanding respect through her actions. She noticed how he treated the community with integrity and generosity, always willing to lend a hand when needed. These observations deepened their admiration for one another, showing that their compatibility extended beyond personal qualities to shared values and principles. As weeks turned into months, the relationship continued to grow steadily. They shared quiet moments, like walking along the river at sunset, talking about the beauty of nature and the simple joys of life. They shared laughter over small jokes, and they found comfort in each other's presence. Slowly, the initial caution and hesitation gave way to a sense of trust and understanding. They were beginning to see that a meaningful connection was possible, not forced by circumstance, but built through shared experiences, communication, and respect.
Yet, even as their bond strengthened, both remained aware of the challenges that lay ahead.
Differences in culture, community expectations, and personal experiences could create obstacles. They both knew that love alone was not enough. It required compromise, understanding, and patience. But instead of fearing these challenges, they approached them thoughtfully, discussing their concerns openly and honestly. This transparency allowed them to navigate potential difficulties with clarity and mutual respect. One evening, as they sat together watching the sunset, the rancher turned to her and said, "I never expected to meet someone like you. I don't know what the future holds, but I want to take the time to know you, to understand you, and to see if we can build something real together." She looked at him thoughtfully, a small smile playing on her lips. "I feel the same," she replied softly. "I want to see where this can go, but I need to be sure that it's based on respect and understanding. I want to choose this, not just follow what others expect of me." That moment marked a turning point. They were no longer just cautious acquaintances. They were two people exploring the possibility of a deeper connection, based on choice and mutual respect. They began to dream together, imagining what life might look like if they continued on this path, working side by side, supporting each other, and facing challenges as a team. The mother, observing from a distance, felt a quiet sense of relief and pride. Her daughter was strong, intelligent, and thoughtful, and she could see that the rancher possessed the qualities that would make him a reliable and caring partner. She had suggested this match not to control the future, but to offer a chance for a meaningful connection. Now, seeing her daughter and the rancher build trust and understanding, she felt hopeful that this opportunity could blossom into something beautiful. As part 2 of their story comes to a close, the foundation of their relationship has been laid. They have shared time, experiences, and conversations that reveal their values, strengths, and potential compatibility. Both remain cautious, aware of the journey ahead, but there is a growing sense of trust, respect, and curiosity. The bond between them is no longer just a possibility. It is beginning to take shape, quietly, steadily, and meaningfully. The rancher leaves each visit with a sense of anticipation and hope. The daughter reflects on each encounter, considering the man who has entered her life with sincerity and care. Both understand that the road ahead will have challenges, but they are willing to explore it together, step by step. And so, the story continues, moving toward deeper understanding, emotional connection, and the possibility of love that grows naturally from respect, shared values, and mutual choice. As time passed, the rancher and the daughter grew closer. But life in a small community was rarely simple. Their growing bond began to attract attention, and not everyone welcomed it. While many admired the rancher's character and the daughter's strength, some people in town whispered behind their backs. Rumors spread, questioning whether this connection was genuine or just a convenient arrangement. These whispers, though small, added a layer of tension that neither of them had expected. At first, they tried to ignore the murmurs. "I've gathered this time." They focused on spending time together, working side by side on chores, and learning more about each other. Yet, it became clear that their relationship could not exist entirely in private. The community was small and news traveled fast. Every smile, every moment of shared laughter seemed to be noticed and commented on. For the daughter, who valued her independence and her family's traditions, the scrutiny was difficult. She worried that people would misjudge her intentions or think she was abandoning her principles. The rancher, too, felt the weight of the situation. He had lived in this town for years and valued the respect of his neighbors. But he did not want their growing relationship to cause problems or create misunderstandings. Yet he could not deny the connection he felt with her. He respected her courage and independence, and he admired the way she handled challenges. He wanted to support her, even if it meant facing skepticism from the community. One day, a minor accident on the ranch brought the tension to the surface. While fixing a fence near the river, one of the rancher's horses panicked and nearly injured itself. The rancher acted quickly, but in the process, he slipped and twisted his ankle. The daughter, seeing the danger, rushed to help, holding the horse steady and supporting him until he could recover. The incident was small, but it highlighted how naturally they worked together. After the accident, while resting on the porch with his ankle elevated, the rancher looked at her with gratitude. "I don't know what I would have done without you today," he said sincerely. "You were calm, brave, and smart." "I realize more and more that I can trust you completely." The daughter smiled gently, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I only did what anyone would do," she said softly. "But I trust you too. I feel safer working with you, even in difficult situations." "We make a good team, don't we?" "Yes," he replied, feeling a warmth in his chest he could not ignore. "We do, Basket. And I think that's important, not just for the ranch, but for us. We understand each other, and we respect each other. That matters more than anything else."
Even with this shared understanding, the external pressures continued. Some townspeople approached them with questions and subtle criticism.
A few even implied that their connection was improper, that it went against tradition or local expectations. Each time, the rancher and the daughter faced these challenges with patience and composure. They refused to let gossip dictate their feelings, but they also realized that their relationship required careful navigation. During this period, the mother remained a steady presence. She offered quiet guidance and wisdom, reminding them that love built on respect and understanding could withstand external pressures. She encouraged her daughter to speak openly about her feelings and worries, and she reminded the rancher to listen with care. Her support became an anchor in a time of uncertainty, helping both of them navigate the complexities of community expectations and personal choice. One evening, as the sun set behind the distant hills, they walked together along the riverbank. The air was cool and still, and the sound of water flowing over the rocks was calming. It was a rare moment of peace in a time of tension, and both of them felt the comfort of being alone together, away from whispers and expectations. "I've been thinking," the daughter said quietly. about what people say and how easily misunderstandings can happen. Sometimes I worry that we're moving too fast, or that we're not ready for what others might think. The rancher looked at her thoughtfully. I understand, he said gently, but I believe that what matters most is us, how we treat each other, and the trust we build. The world can talk, and people can speculate, but it won't change the bond we're forming.
We have to be patient, careful, and honest. That's all that matters.
She nodded, feeling reassured by his words. You're right, she said.
I want this to work, but I want it to be real, not forced. I want us to grow together, not because of pressure, but because we choose it every day.
They began to see their challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities to strengthen their bond. Every moment of doubt or criticism became a chance to communicate more openly, to understand each other better, and to prove their commitment through actions rather than words. A few weeks later, the town hosted a community gathering, a festival with music, food, and dancing. The rancher and the daughter attended together, walking side by side, sharing smiles and laughter. But despite the public nature of the event, they felt secure in each other's presence. Their bond was becoming visible, not as a superficial attraction, but as a partnership built on trust and mutual respect. During the festival, they encountered old friends and neighbors who had been skeptical of their connection. Some approached with curiosity, others with subtle criticism. Yet, the way the rancher and the daughter interacted, supporting, respecting, and communicating with one another, began to shift perceptions. People saw not just a potential match, but a team, a partnership grounded in honesty and understanding. Slowly, whispers turned into nods of approval, and skepticism gave way to cautious admiration. Despite these positive developments, challenges continued to test their relationship. One afternoon, the daughter received troubling news from her family. A relative had expressed concern about the growing bond and the implications for tradition and expectations. She confided in the rancher, her voice tinged with worry. "Bae, I don't want to hurt anyone," she said softly. "But I also don't want to ignore what we have. I care about you, but I'm not sure how to navigate all of this." The rancher took her hand gently, squeezing it with reassurance. "We'll face it together," he said. "We can respect our families and our community, but we can also make choices that are right for us. It won't be easy, but we'll find a way." Together, they began to address these challenges thoughtfully. They spoke openly with family members, explaining their intentions, their respect for tradition, and their desire to build a genuine connection. They demonstrated their compatibility through actions, working together, supporting each other, and showing patience and care. Slowly, the fears and doubts of others began to ease, replaced by recognition of the strength of their bond. During this period, small moments of connection became even more significant. They shared quiet evenings watching the stars, discussing their dreams, fears, and hopes for the future. They laughed at small mistakes, celebrated minor successes, and comforted each other during moments of frustration or doubt. These shared experiences built a foundation that no amount of external pressure could shake. One particularly emotional moment occurred when the rancher shared a story from his childhood about his first horse, the lessons he had learned about responsibility, patience, and resilience, and the hope he had always carried for a meaningful partnership. But the daughter listened intently, moved by his sincerity and vulnerability. She realized that he was not just a kind and reliable man, but someone capable of deep care and understanding. In turn, she shared her own story about her upbringing in the Apache community, the values instilled in her by her family, and the challenges she had faced while balancing independence with respect for tradition. The rancher listened without judgment, appreciating the courage and thoughtfulness she displayed. He realized that these stories were not just memories, but glimpses into the character and integrity of the person before him.
Through these shared moments, their relationship grew stronger.
Base. They learned not only about each other's pasts, but also about their values, priorities, and visions for the future. They discovered that trust, communication, and shared respect were far more important than public approval or social expectations. By the end of Part 3, the rancher and the daughter had faced the first real challenges to their bond. They had encountered community skepticism, family concerns, and moments of personal doubt. Yet, through patience, honesty, and mutual support, they had begun to overcome these obstacles. Their connection had deepened, moving beyond surface-level attraction to a partnership based on trust, understanding, and shared values. The story now stood at a turning point. The foundation of their relationship was strong, but the future still held choices and challenges that would test their commitment and courage. They had proven that their bond could withstand scrutiny and pressure, but the ultimate test, the decision to fully embrace love and partnership, was still ahead. And so, as the sun set over the hills once more, the rancher and the daughter stood together, hands intertwined, hearts connected, and eyes on a future they were beginning to shape together. They knew that life would not always be easy, but they had discovered something rare and valuable, a partnership built on respect, trust, and the courage to choose each other every day. The weeks that followed the festival were filled with small but meaningful moments. The rancher and the daughter had grown closer than ever, their bond strengthened by the challenges they had faced and the trust they had built. They worked side by side on the ranch, shared meals, and spent quiet evenings talking under the stars. Every shared laugh and every conversation deepened their understanding of each other, and the connection between them became undeniable. Despite their growing closeness, they remained careful. They knew that love was not just about feelings. It was about choices, responsibility, and mutual respect.
Both understood that their families and community were important, and they wanted to honor that while following their hearts.
The daughter often thought about her mother's wise words, that true love grows from respect, understanding, and shared values, not from pressure or expectation. The rancher carried that thought with him as well, realizing that the path they were on required patience and care. One afternoon, the rancher invited the daughter to help him with a project on the ranch, a new barn that needed repairs and organization. As they worked together, lifting beams and arranging tools, their teamwork was seamless. They laughed at small mistakes and encouraged each other through difficult tasks. Their cooperation and understanding in these practical moments reflected the strength of their partnership, and it did not go unnoticed by those around them. The mother, observing quietly from the porch, felt a deep sense of pride. She had suggested this match not to control her daughter's future, but because she had recognized qualities in the rancher that were rare: honesty, integrity, and a willingness to work hard and respect others. Seeing her daughter and the rancher grow together, she realized that her intuition had been correct. They complemented each other in ways that were meaningful and enduring. As the barn project continued, the rancher and the daughter had time to speak openly about their hopes for the future. The rancher shared his vision of a life built on partnership, where they could support each other, work together on the ranch, and create a home filled with warmth and respect. The daughter spoke of her desire to maintain her independence while embracing a partnership that was equal and supportive. They discussed the importance of shared values, clear communication, and mutual trust, foundations that would allow their relationship to grow strong and lasting. Their conversations were honest and thoughtful, and they began to imagine a future together. They spoke about how they would face challenges, support each other in difficult times, and celebrate successes together. They discussed traditions, family expectations, and how they could honor both while building a life that reflected their own choices. These discussions were not always easy, but they were necessary, and they allowed both to see the depth of their compatibility and commitment. The turning point came when the rancher decided it was time to meet the extended family and formally express his intentions. He invited the daughter's relatives to the ranch for a small gathering, a chance to demonstrate his respect, sincerity, and dedication. The daughter was nervous but hopeful, understanding that this was an important step in gaining acceptance and showing that their connection was genuine. During the gathering, the rancher spoke openly and respectfully. He shared stories of his upbringing, his work on the ranch, and his values. He expressed his admiration for the daughter's strength, intelligence, and character, and he explained that his intentions were sincere. He did not seek to force anyone's approval, but wanted to demonstrate his respect and commitment. The daughter's family listened carefully, impressed by his honesty and thoughtfulness. They observed the way he and the daughter interacted, how they supported each other, communicated openly, and treated each other with respect. Slowly, the initial skepticism began to fade, replaced by recognition of the genuine connection between them. The family saw that this was not a superficial attraction, but a partnership built on trust, understanding, and shared values. After the gathering, the daughter felt a sense of relief and joy, but she realized that the rancher was not only her partner in love, but also someone who could navigate challenges with her, someone who respected her family and traditions while remaining true to their own values. She felt a growing certainty that their bond was strong enough to endure life's uncertainties. As the weeks passed, their relationship continued to flourish. They faced small challenges together: unexpected weather, demanding tasks on the ranch, and occasional misunderstandings, but each challenge only strengthened their partnership. They learned to communicate more effectively, to listen and understand each other's perspectives, and to support one another through both difficulties and triumphs. One evening, as they sat together on the porch watching the sun set, the rancher turned to the daughter with a gentle smile. "I've been thinking a lot about us," he said softly. "We've faced challenges, we've learned from each other, and we've grown together. I feel ready to take the next step, to make a commitment that reflects everything we've built." The daughter looked at him, her heart swelling with emotion.
I feel the same, she replied.
"I want to choose this every day, to build a life together based on respect, trust, and love. I want to face the future with you as partners, equals, and companions." With their hearts aligned, they began to plan a small, meaningful celebration to honor their commitment. They chose a simple ceremony, attended by family, friends, and community members who had come to respect and support their partnership. The event reflected their values, a blend of tradition, family, and personal choice, celebrating not only their love but also the journey that had brought them together. On the day of the celebration, the rancher and the daughter stood side by side, hands intertwined, surrounded by the people who mattered most. The mother smiled with quiet pride, knowing that her daughter had found a partner who was respectful, kind, and sincere. Family members and friends offered blessings, warm wishes, and smiles of approval. The air was filled with joy, laughter, and a sense of shared happiness. During the ceremony, the rancher spoke from the heart, expressing his commitment to the daughter, his admiration for her character, and his promise to build a life together based on trust, respect, and shared values. The daughter, in turn, spoke of her love for him, her appreciation for his sincerity, and her excitement for the future they would create together. Their words were simple yet profound, reflecting the depth of their bond and the journey they had undertaken to reach this moment. After the ceremony, the community celebrated with music, food, and dancing. The rancher and the daughter moved together seamlessly, enjoying the warmth and joy of their friends and family. They laughed, shared stories, and embraced the happiness that came from being surrounded by people who supported and cared for them. The day was a testament to their journey, how trust, patience, and understanding had transformed a cautious connection into a partnership filled with love and respect. In the days that followed, life continued on the ranch, but everything felt different. The rancher and the daughter were no longer just two people exploring a connection. They were partners in every sense, building a life together with shared purpose and mutual respect. Their bond had weathered challenges, community skepticism, and personal doubts, and it had emerged stronger and more meaningful. They continued to work together, share responsibilities, and support one another in all aspects of life. The ranch became a place not only of work, but of partnership, laughter, and shared dreams. Each day they grew closer, learning more about each other and discovering new ways to complement and support one another. The mother remained a quiet but loving presence, offering guidance and wisdom when needed, but allowing her daughter and the rancher to navigate their life together. She felt a deep sense of satisfaction, knowing that her intuition had been correct and that her daughter had found a partner who valued, respected, and cherished her. As the sun set over the hills each evening, the rancher and the daughter often sat together on the porch, reflecting on the journey that had brought them to this point. They spoke of the challenges they had overcome, the lessons they had learned, and the hopes they held for the future. Each conversation reinforced their commitment and deepened their connection, reminding them that love built on respect, understanding, and shared values could endure anything. The story of their relationship, once uncertain and cautious, had transformed into one of trust, partnership, and genuine love. They had faced challenges together, navigated community expectations, and supported each other through moments of doubt and worry. In the end, they discovered that true love is not just a feeling but a choice, a daily commitment to care for, understand, and respect one another. And so, their lives continued, intertwined and strengthened by the journey they had shared. The rancher and the daughter faced each day as partners, companions, and equals, building a future grounded in trust, integrity, and mutual support. Their story became an example in the community, a reminder that love, patience, and understanding could overcome challenges, bridge differences, and create a life filled with joy and meaning.
Through it all, they remained grateful for the mother's guidance, for each other's presence, and for the chance to discover a partnership that was truly rare.
Their connection was no longer a question or a possibility. It was a living, growing testament to the power of respect, trust, and genuine love. In the quiet moments, as they watched the sun dip below the horizon and the stars begin to twinkle, they held hands and shared a smile, knowing that they had found something extraordinary.
Life would continue to bring challenges, but they had each other, and that made all the difference. And so, their story, which began with a simple proposal and cautious first meetings, concluded with a partnership rooted in trust, respect, and love.
It was a story of patience, courage, and choice. A true life journey of two people who discovered that the greatest gift of all is finding someone with whom to share life, laughter, and love.